I hear it in the air. I feel it in the air. Who's your neighbor? Who's your friend? Oh, there's hate all around. I don't care about your fucking politics. I don't want to hear about your politics. Oh, well, he said boo. Oh, and she said hooray. Now we're human beings right here. Human beings.
Bum, 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 bum.
All right, welcome.
Oh,
Lord.
welcome.
Welcome.
As Frau would say, welcome.
Welcome.
Uh,
Hold on, let's do a quick review of the stuff you sent so that I can
Okay, sure.
then we can close the I can
window.
close
Okay.
some stuff.
Do it.
All right, we've got Cruz
Mhm.
talking. Epstein constantly at MIT and Harvard. His handlers and the Fed families, Rothschild, Rockefellers, were reattempting to gain control, core of the bankers, blah, blah, blah. Know your history. Okay. Yesterday, Donald Trump nominated son-in-law of Epstein associate Ronald Lauder as Fed Reserve Chair. Yeah, that guy's weird.
Yeah, I know, right? And then immediately upon just rumors of that, that's when gold and silver get smashed.
Mm-hmm.
Then
what? Keep going, bro.
No, I just thought that was interesting that it was like, gold and silver get smashed, and especially silver, and it seems like, it almost reminds me a little bit of GameStop. But I almost feel like GameStop is like a trial balloon for some of these, you could almost call like trade or economic warfare, where I don't know. It seems like, like silver, there's like a battle going on between them, the multipolar, the Chinese and Russians versus, whatever, America, England, UK, / the West, because silver is gonna, not only is gold, this thing that was used as money for centuries, and then the whole part of the power structure that now we live under is based on this fiat system, where it's like we've secretly replaced your coffee with Folgers crystals of, fiat Folgers crystals, and if you go back to things like the Opium Wars, when England and the British East India Company, like, they were basically, wanted the tea, silk, and porcelain and shit like that, and they ran out of silver, and so the Chinese were like, well, we'll happily trade you that stuff for your silver and gold, but if you don't have any silver or gold to trade, then sorry, we're not gonna, we wish you the best, but no go. And then that's when they started bringing in all the opium, and they used opium to basically, collapse make a lot of money, collapse the society, commit a type of warfare on the country. And then when they tried to stop it, that was when they said, now we've got you. And this is like the playbook they do. It's like what they're doing with Iran in a way, except not necessarily with drugs, but or what they did with Venezuela, it's kind of, or like go back to Smedley Butler, where for example, the shit that happened in Nicaragua, what, around like 1909 or 1910 or whatever, and basically the Marines were sent there, and they were like, all right, the government that we want to take power, the people that we want to take power of Nicaragua, we'll help you, and you guys can shoot and kill your enemies or competitors, and the government forces who we wanted to overthrow, we were like, yeah, you can't shoot back. And they're like, why can't we shoot back? And like, because if you shoot back, you're shooting in the direction of our ships, and you might hit one of our ships, and then we get directly involved, instead of indirectly involved. It's kind of like this thing where we can do what we want to you, and you have to take it, and until we just collapse you. And anyone who has a problem with that, like, too fucking bad. And it seems like it's basically what they do with all around the world, and it's what they're doing in America too. And that's why it's not just an American deep state. This is a global empire deep state. And drugs are a big fucking part of it. So and money, and the fiat money, is the thing where, again, back to the opium wars, they wanted all the real wealth, the resource, like from China, like the tea, silk, and porcelain, for example, and they were making shit tons of money on that tea, silk, and porcelain, bringing it back to Europe and whatever, and selling it at a huge profit, making a fortune, but when you run out of gold and silver, which you can't just make up out of thin air, as far as we know, that's when they ran into problems. So they were like, we gotta eventually change the system. We gotta make this be a credit-based system, a fiat-based system, and then we have monopoly on the printing of money and creation of money and creation of credit. In the first two world wars end up, handing over. Remember, like Bucky Fuller talked about how within the first year or so of the first year or two of the First World War, the Allied powers were out of gold and silver. And they're like, what do we do? And it's like, now we got you. And again, that's why it's like, it's not just about, it's England, it's America. It's about the oligarchs, or the people, the bankers, the finance industry that gain a monopoly on the issuance of credit and the creation of money that will now tokenize, right? Be a digital or a paper representation, like an IOU of the real thing. So it's like, no, give us, like whatever, like people buy gold or silver, whatever, like unless they have like a big vault and lots of money to defend it, you probably want to store that in some bank or somewhere, right? Because you never know, you could get robbed, shit could happen, that's the whole thing, like the idea of pirates. And you get the loot, you steal the loot, and now you got to put it somewhere, like a treasure map. You hide it somewhere that no one else knows, and you make some treasure map, or you make a bank, or nowadays, you create these offshore infrastructure, where you get to launder the money and put it there, and right. So it's like kind of like that guy Bill Black's book, The Best Way to Rob a Bank is to Own One, right? Mm-hmm. So all of this, right, and then it which goes back to like what another thing Bucky Fuller said after World War I, that the U.S. government, which was getting all this loans from J.P. Morgan for the most part, who was basically an extension of British finance. And at the end of World War I, they were like, we won. Look, this is great. We won. Now we have all this money. And then, Bucky Fuller writes is like that J.P. Morgan says to the U.S. government, don't you've forgotten your Alexander Hamilton, that the U.S. government has no money. Like, basically, all that money is owed back to us, the bankers, the ones who, started the war in the fucking first place, you know, and then funded both sides, you know, and broke the pre-existing system and replaced it with the Folgers crystals, you know, that now will all just be this, you know, paper money, you know, and they'll have to figure out how to get back on some sort of gold standard, which they kind of do temporarily in some makeshift form. But then eventually, you know, the Great Depression, right? And then, you know, like the Smedley Butler thing. And then they want to take us off the gold standard and confiscate all the gold. And then you have these wealthy people that are like, we don't want that because all of our money, you know, we have all this money saved. And if you take us off gold standard, like every contract we have is, you know, is that these dollars that we hold are fully redeemable in gold. Like that was a contract. And now you're trying to totally break that contract. Like why? And what for? No, they're like, we're not going to do it. And they first start trying to lobby. And that's when they're trying to get Smedley Butler to give these speeches, you know, like the American Legion and whatnot, to like convince all these World War I veterans who are destitute and have no money that their number one priority should be to convince. It's like what the Republicans do in a way, and the Democrats too. But, you know, it's something that historically the Republicans have done more, which is like pretend to be like, try to get the common man, the rural person to be like, no, our interests are the same interests as the ultra wealthy, you know? And you had these, you know, very wealthy people in America that were worried, and rightfully so, that going off the gold standard was going to cause this major inflation and greatly devalue their holdings and their savings. You know, because the tokenization of things, the giving the person an IOU or the Folgers crystals, eventually, you know, the whole thing is like, don't worry, like, or like how Venezuela had its gold in the Bank of England or something like that. And then, and the first time we tried to, or, you know, when Trump's first term, when we tried to overthrow Maduro in Venezuela and put in Juan Guaido, that all of a sudden we just seized all their gold, you know? And it was like, no, there was a contract. Like Venezuela was like, we housed our gold there and you guys just took it. You know, it's like, so you take paper money or digits on a screen or a, you know, non-fungible token or whatever, you know, and it represents the real thing where you go and you get the real, whether like in China it was the tea-soaked porcelain, in other places it might be oil, or in America it might have been cotton, you know, or whatever, you know, and you buy it with this shit that's worthless. But it's you got the promise that it'll be backed by the government and the taxpayers. And that's when, you know, like with the Federal Reserve in World War I, that's when like the federal income tax really kicks in and started small. You know, you get your foot in the door by, you know, but then over time you just keep on jacking it up, and then you use that shit to finance the wars, you know, which are all about going and stealing the shit and being a pirate and taking the real resources and wealth from countries, robbing them of their real wealth, replacing it with IOUs, and then like economic hitman style, come in and be like, well, don't you want to be you know, have infrastructure built there? Don't you want to have electricity and modern technology? It's like, we can build that for you. We'll give you the loans, you know, or you know, we'll set a trap for you in Ukraine for Russia, and now, you know, we'll kill all the Ukrainians, you know, and set them up to all be killed so that, you know, and then they'll beg us for money for help, and we'll give them that money, which just goes to the military industrial contractors who just, you know, so it's just, you know what I'm saying? It's just like this whole criminal, you know, system of murder, death, drugs, and piracy, where you take all the real wealth and replace it with something that represents it, you know,
Mhm.
um, and it's just like, it's like, and all the while, the people that own these banks and shit, they're like, the best way to rob a bank is to own one. They own it, so they siphon it off and put it into offshore shit, and then they need bailouts, and then they prop up, they start lending money, like which eventually led to the 2008 crisis. They instead of, like I think it was it was in the Epstein video where, it was talking about, like, where Epstein was like, yeah, instead of saying we're going to give loans to people with bad credit, they just said these are subprime mortgages. You rebrand it, so it's like most people are like, well, I don't know what subprime is, as opposed to, well, here, do you want to invest in these things and all these bad loans, with people with bad credit that are not likely to pay it back? People are like, no fucking way. But then you say, no, these are subprime mortgage. I was like, I don't know what that is. Okay. What's the rating? What do the rating agencies give it? The rating agencies are pressured into, giving the rating agencies are told, like, if you don't rate our subprime garbage at the top rating, then we'll take our business elsewhere. And then the rating agencies are like, no, 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 don't do that. We want to make money. We're sure, okay, we'll give you the rating, And I'm just saying, everyone gets their beak wet. Everyone plays their role, in the empire of criminality, piracy, mass murder, drug dealing, poisoning, undermining, So, and someone like Epstein is just, an insurance policy on one hand,
Yeah.
where if someone wants to try to say, hey, 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 I'm not okay with this, and it's like, well, we have this footage of you raping a child. Like, they're like, what are you talking about? It's like, remember that time we went to that party on that island? It's like, yes. It's like that, those girls you fucked, they were underage. And they're like, what? It's like, that's right. So do you want to be locked up in jail and get raped for the rest of your life as a pedophile? Or do you want to make lots of money? you know, you know?
Yeah.
And as Jack Cruz says, Ghislaine Maxwell's
By the way, that's an easy choice.
right, which is an easy fucking choice. It's an offer they can't refuse. It's just mafia, but it's like the next mafia is just a small version of it, or a subset of this, and like Jack Cruz says, Ghislaine Maxwell's family, pretty much dominated the peer review process. So if you want to get stuff published in quote unquote reputable scientific journals, like, you're going to need to play this game, and then they're going to, they're just going to have to do their due diligence and make sure that everyone, that whichever strategic choke points, you figure out the people you need to either pay off or get into compromising positions so you can blackmail them. And then it more or less runs smoothly. And then every so often you have a holdout, then you might have to kill some people, And if they don't want to back down and do, it's like the economic hitman model. It said, at first we send in the economic hitman and we say, hey, either we kill you or hurt you, or you take this money and you take these loans and you and your friends and family become wealthy. We build you an infrastructure, we uplift your country, quote unquote, and if they don't like that, then you send in the jackals, to try to assassinate them, and if that doesn't work, then you might have to, send in special forces or more overt military, and now with some of these Epstein revelations, we're like realizing like how much, like, think about like the Robin Leach stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Robin, what was Robin? I know you're a little bit younger than me, but like Robin Leach, when I was young, Robin Leach was like, it represented this thing in a similar way that Hollywood and celebrities do. This, it's like, it's like if you go to like a poor neighborhood and they like, all these people are buying all these lottery tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what are you doing? Like, why are you spending whatever little money you have on these lottery tickets? Like, that's just, you're just paying extra money for nothing. You're not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But, just take all that money and invest it in whatever, the stock market or bonds or something, but people like, they're hurting and they're like, want this hope.
Mm-hmm.
They want this hope.
Well, and you
dream.
Hit sometimes. You get a $20 one. You win a $20 one. It's designed perfectly. It's designed perfectly. Oh my God. You know what I mean? It's you're gonna win every once in a while. And that's enough. That's enough to hook people.
Right? You got to let them win just enough.
Of course.
That they think if they just stay, like the lotto, you got to be in it to win it.
And if you know 5 friends who all are buying lottery tickets, you probably know one of them who won like $1,000 one time. Right. So it's like, it happens. I saw it. I was there. It was crazy. Boom. Let's go.
Like, let's keep on doing this, and then, and in a similar way, like the lottery thing, the Robin Leach thing, is it like lifestyles of the rich and famous, and it was like, this whole thing about, don't you want this? Don't you want to have a yacht?
Don't you want this, baby? Don't you want this? Oh.
And it's like, just think about it. This whole thing is this other type of simulation where you get people emotionally invested, or in poker, they call it pot committed to a losing hand, where it's like, why should I be doing X, Y, and Z and all this? It's like, because you could be rich and famous. You could be eating caviar and having champagne with beautiful women, and it, like, that type of shit makes all these people be like, I got to keep on buying lottery tickets, and it's like the Hollywood thing, the celebrity thing, the professional sports thing, it's like these dangling carrots in front of people, who come from nothing. And it's like, if you play your cards right, you could win this lottery and become rich and famous and become a celebrity, and you dangle this shit, and then they can't help, they're hurting and they're desperate, and they're like, I could become this. And, everyone, like you said, everyone has a friend that won something, and then they're like, stick with it. And it's like, and like, whether it's like the legitimacy of creating consensus in science so that people will make bad health decisions, so that like all these people be flocking for a COVID vaccine, thinking it's a savior, when it's really the thing that's going to be like this utter disgusting poison that is going to like just totally fuck up your health eventually, if not immediately, and how do you get people to make bad decisions, all so that they can keep taking whatever they've made and funnel it back into, what you want them to funnel it back into, and it's like, it's just so interesting to see some of the shit like coming out, and then you get the satanic, eating the people, right? Like that Mexican model, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
She saw something with that face that she makes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That was like watching, like, I felt like that was like a real life movie that we saw one scene from, where like it's some terrible, scary, realistic horror movie, like Eyes Wide Shut, but it's not just some sex party. It's the other side of it, the even deeper, darker side of it, where they're not just like having sex with young girls. Like, this is like, no, they're eating the people, and either you start eating the people with us, or otherwise you're out or you're dead.
Yeah,
and
of course,
and
absolutely.
we destroy you.
Yeah,
you know, and that woman,
and like you were fine with every other step up until now,
right?
You know, you did step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is step 6. You know,
Exactly.
like
exactly.
that. There's a great YouTube video. This guy who was trying to become an influencer, like a YouTube influencer in California, and he knew all these other people there. There's these giant parties that happen every once in a while, and everybody wants to get invited because it's like, you know, it's all the big shots are there, but you have to get like recommended by somebody else who goes, and then you have to get sent in this invitation that has like a key attached to it, and blah blah blah. And so yeah, he goes. Everybody's dressed up, but in different levels of disguise. So some people he's recognizing as like, wow, there's all these mega famous people, and it's basically you're taken from room to room to room, and like the first room is all of this food and all of this alcohol and stuff like that. That's the first room. You're in there for like an hour or something, or 30 minutes or something, and then you're moved to the next room, and it's a bunch of these huge giant beds with all this decoration and stuff, and people are encouraged to like hook up or just talk and hang out on the beds if you want. But if you want to like do sexual stuff, it just keeps ramping up. It just keeps ramping up. It just keeps ramping up until it's like, oh, here, kill this person,
right?
While we film it, you know, like, isn't this party great, you know? And so at each doorway, you have to like say this like a prayer kind of thing. You have to like say a prayer before you go into the next room, you know? So it's like, it's adding in all of these magical type ceremonial things that for some people works like really well, you know?
Yes.
Like let go of personal responsibility, embrace power, like become the most powerful version of yourself, you know, that kind of stuff, right? It's like and so yeah, just keep ramping it up until you've gone through all the rooms, and now boom, you're a part of the club. Talk to you later. If you need anything, just ask anybody that you saw at these events for help. We're all on the same team now. We all help each other. Talk to you next time.
Yeah, right.
See you at the next party. See you at the next party. And then everybody's like, yeah, see you there.
Yeah. Right.
A great party.
And think about it, how many years this goes on, or decades that this goes on.
Oh, right.
Doing that.
The amount you've built up, the Rolodex that you've built up.
Right.
Right. And then there's like a few. So let's make a percentage. 50% of the people who are already trying to seek power, let's say just within the Hollywood system, are going to be willing to do it. You're telling me I have to do some illegal shit to get my big break? No fucking problem. Sounds easy.
No problem.
Better than going to auditions and getting rejected 50 fucking times a day.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
No fucking problem. Like, oh, you mean right? There's gonna be 50% of that 50% are actively seeking out. Fuck auditions, get me into this satanic shit, bro.
Yeah,
like help me. Like, let me just jump to the top.
Exactly.
And then okay, so you get 50% of the people, no problem. And then what? Then the remaining 50%, 25% of those people, you just got to invite them the second time.
Yeah.
They're going to miss out. They're going to see their friends who went are getting all the parts, and they're going, okay. All right, get me the invite. Boom. Then you're left with the final 25% of holdouts. And now you start your tools. You try drugs, you try money, you try trickery, you try blackmail, whatever. You try a bunch of other stuff, and boy, you just fill up that Rolodex. Oh my gosh, you just get everybody on there, whether they were willing or not. It doesn't matter. I've still got the same compromise on you.
Right,
you are now in the game, and for a lot of those people, they're like, "Yeah, I wanted that, no problem."
Like,
exactly. I don't have to worry about that guy. You know, like that guy is a ride or die teammate, right? That's and that's like the heart of the cult. It's the people on the inside who are true believers. They're
Yes.
highly motivated. They
Mhm.
will go cut a motherfucker's brake lines
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's the core group of Scientologists or the core group of any cult that are like, yeah, we are the God's chosen people or
Right.
Satan's chosen people.
Yep, yep.
We can kill and destroy, blow shit up, whatever. That is
Mhm.
like what we get to do. And we believe it. We're down with OPP or whatever the hell
Exactly.
that thing was. We're down with it. And then, okay, 25% of your group is kind of sitting on the sidelines, kind of grimacing, but they certainly aren't stopping you.
Yeah. And on occasion, you might have a person like, do you remember when I first got into this stuff? You know, when I first met you, like 20 years ago or something, I was telling, you know, I would have all these arguments with my dad about it. And there was this like one time my dad told me this story about this friend of a friend that was like a Shriner and worked, but was like a devout Catholic or something like that. And was like, but was a Shriner and worked his way up through the network of the Shriner system, that at some point he like, you know, became like a bottom feeder of one of the top groups of it. And you know, they did all these weird ceremonies and rituals, kind of like Freemasonry or whatever.
Of course,
you hear about. And it's almost like the thing you were talking about with the rooms at the party. At first, it's just all this food and alcohol. Then the next thing, maybe drugs. And the next thing, it's maybe women. And the next thing, it's like younger women. And the next thing, it's like, you know, even younger. You know, like you incrementally, you get them. You know, it's like they're in for a penny, in for a pound kind of thing.
Yes.
And enough people that works for, and that this guy somehow worked his way up to, you know, one of the top groups in the Shriners as like a bottom feeder of one of the top groups. And then he went to then they, you know, performed some ceremony, and the guy was like, this was straight up satanic. And some straight up satanic ceremony. And then that guy was like, I can't do this. And they basically were like, either you do this or you're out. And the guy was like, all right, I'm out. And they didn't kill him as far as I know. But the guy left, and then the guy tried, because when you were talking about 50% go along and the other 50% don't, and then other 50% that don't, like what happens with those people? And it's like, and then of those 50%, it's like, okay, 50% of that 50% eventually, like, all right, you can get them in, but then what about that other 50% of the 50% that don't? And it's like, well, they're not going to be able to stop it. And this was a guy that was just like, we have to do something about this. We have to stop this. And so he went to like, at least from what I remember, is like this guy went and tried to go to the church and he was like, you know, clearly a wealthy guy, you know, because you don't get led up into those top circles without it. And he said that part of the scam about all this is not only the satanic stuff, but he also said that everyone pays dues. So it's like a pyramid scheme. You know, so everyone at the bottom, you get more and more people in, they pay dues up. And at the top, these people were making just ungodly amounts of money just from the dues that everyone was kicking up. But this guy tried to go to like the church, and he was, you know, like a wealthy guy. And then he was like, we got to stop these people. And he got no takers. Like no one wanted to help him, you know? And I don't know, that's, you know, and you know, my dad said how like basically they claimed lineage back to like the Knights Templar, you know, and which were the first international bankers, you know. So this whole thing, you know, is this old way of like, you know, passed down through whatever, you know, mystery school type shit and secret societies and religions and cults and, you know, corporations and you know, people that eventually just do well enough and amass enough money and power that eventually they become relevant, and then it's like, okay, we might need your services, and either you're with us or you're against us, and it's like those of us who are on the outside of it, we just don't know what to do about it. It's like you hear people being like, well, just spread the word. If everyone knows that this is happening, then they can't do it anymore. And it's like, maybe, like, I'm not so sure. Like, I hope so. But I'd assume that they've got a zillion different, like, they must have devoted a certain amount of time and resources to setting up all sorts of tripwires and contingency plans, so that, you know what I'm saying? Like that, if people actually started catching up to them, like, because this, like, right, and what, there were like 6 million files. There's that magic number again, 6 million,
Mm-hmm.
and they released 3 million. They released half, right? And that's what we just got. We just got 3 million of them, which means these were the 3 million of likely of the least, the least damaging to certain people. These are the ones that were like, yeah, we'll share these ones before the other 3 million.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, they're like talking about eating the people. They're talking about all these different people that you didn't think were part of it are part of it. And that's the shit they were comfortable with releasing.
Yeah.
That's
like the Brad Miller thing you said.
Yeah.
I've got that up on the screen currently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you want to read that one?
I'm gonna, he's saying
whatever.
It's not an accident they're coming out.
Yeah,
this is an op.
Yeah.
This is a part of this is a deep state op. This isn't a threat to the deep state.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's basically the short of it.
Now, one of the questions I have is like, there's some stuff like that one where we've sent each other where it was like Epstein's like, yeah, I work for the Rothschilds.
Yeah.
They pay me 25 million, whatever. And it's like, I was like, wow, they're showing that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
mm-hmm.
What's the point of including that?
Well, it keeps being that the idea with the Baal, Moloch, satanic worshiping is that you must show.
Right? It's
you have to show what you're doing.
Right? It's
you're
like
required to.
Right?
And
like the terms and agreements, like, the human centipede South Park, where they're like, you all agreed to this, right? You all signed on, and we're like, we didn't do. And like, yes, you did. In fact, all these contracts you signed were all consent, and you didn't know it, but it was.
Yeah.
And you just didn't do your due diligence, and that's on you.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. No, because I mean, no, and to zoom in on that specific situation, because then you get to go, don't you remember?
Right.
When we signed that contract? Do you not remember when we had that meeting? Because the person is acting like, what is happening?
Yeah.
It's like, no, hold on. Remember 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we talked all about this. This was discussed. We made an agreement. You signed here. You paid your dues.
Right.
So it's in a way, I think it kind of takes away what you're doing is you're taking away the legitimacy of the person who signed the contract later on making a big deal about it at all in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like with Trump and Epstein. Like he can't completely be like, I don't know the guy.
Right.
He just has to play it down. Like, yeah, I partied with him a few times or something anyway.
Yeah.
You can't be like, no, I've never met the person. We weren't best friends for 15 years. We didn't trade human trafficking like people back and forth like Pokemon cards or something, you know.
Right.
It's like yeah, we did some of that. I mean, like, okay, anyway, on to things that are important like healthcare. You know, like what he said in the also, did you see the
What?
it like took over for like 2 hours, and then it was just like amazingly just like moved out of the news cycle like faster than a lot of things I've seen. Like even Epstein is like staying around. Did you see the video of him where it's purported that he shits himself in the middle of the meeting? And because you can see exactly.
Oh, wait. Oh, I saw some meme about that. Did that really supposedly happen?
You can hear, yes. Couple of things. One, you can hear something. Number one, you can hear something. Number two, there is a lady directly behind him and to the left in blue. And she's having a hard time. Her nose is kind of wrinkling. She's trying to keep a straight face going, you know? And then right after, for really no reason, it wasn't like somebody there wasn't like a gun threat. So right after that, some people come from the side, some agents like, okay, meeting's over. Like, they're just like, okay, we're not. Which is the most suspicious set of events right there within a few seconds. That's just like, oh, yeah. Okay. But even more, like I'm saying, even more amazing to me was I woke up whenever that was a few days ago. It was just all over Reddit. It was the top links of everything, thousands and thousands and thousands of up votes or whatever. People were just going nuts about it. A few hours later, I went back. It was no longer like at the top. I had to like do a search for it because I wanted to see. I hadn't actually watched the video yet. I hadn't had a chance to actually watch the video yet. And I was like, this is crazy. It's like, and maybe that's kind of more the power that's being even more further developed, which is we're going to show you all of the evil stuff, but now there's a new thing. So now you saw it, but now there's a new thing you have to look at, right? And then you push that to the side. Now here's the new thing, right? The weaponizing the news cycle. That's already been done now, but now I think with the internet, it's like a little bit different beast now. It's not just a few newspapers that are printed like once a day, right?
Yeah,
like
there are more moles to whack.
Yeah, absolutely. Or moles to, yeah, exactly. Or shove it aside. It's like, okay, you played that game, you played whack-a-mole. Okay, now play ping pong. Okay, you played that for like 3 hours or 4 hours. Okay, on to the next crazy thing, because like we're doing a lot of crazy stuff, and if we're part of this crazy cult thing, we have to show you everything. Essentially, we have to hide in plain sight. And so here's the next thing. You know, it's like cartoons or something for kids. It's like, okay, here's X-Men, boom, here's the next thing, you know. And so the kid is like, whoa, you know, just keeps getting drug along. It's like, yeah, I remember that show, but now the next one's on. Something smells so good. Rachel's cooking something. I don't know what it is. God, it smells so good. Holy crap. Oh, it's making me hungry. Wow.
Which, you know, I think I've, you know, maybe said to you in the past, but it reminds me of, you know, like years ago, I was in this league in fantasy football where I made a trade where I made a great fucking trade, and I really ripped this guy off, and then the whole league like revolted and went crazy about it, and was like, you know, trying to veto the trade. And you had like maybe let's say there are 10 of us in the league, and you needed maybe 6 people, so 6 out of 10, a majority, to vote to veto a trade. And there were like 3 other people that were getting really loud and really like, this trade has to be stopped. And the only way to really communicate with each other was through the shared message board. And so, you know, there were 3 people, let's say, that were writing these messages all the time, being like, this trade has to be vetoed. This is, you know, and they were trying to rally the people together to do something about it. So basically, like, the main thing I could do was I could just start flooding the message board with shit tons of messages about other shit. Maybe I'll state my case in 1 or 2 of the messages, saying why it shouldn't be vetoed. But then I'll just be writing a bunch of other just total non sequitur, irrelevant shit, you know, because people are at work. They don't have time to, you know, spend an hour reading all these fucking messages. Maybe they'll spend 5 to 10 minutes reading messages. So I just flooded it with a zillion messages, diluting those 3 people. And it was effective enough that it prevented more people from all rallying against the trade, you know. And it totally reminds me of that's like what they have to do. They have to throw this shiny object out there. People go, oh, you know, and then then a certain percentage of people forget about the other thing. They forget about, you know, that Trump once said he was going to release the files. And then when they start pressing him to release the files, he's like, oh, this is a Democrat hoax, you know, like, oh, you still talk about Epstein? And then, you know, whatever, some new scandal comes out. It's a new shiny object, you know, and then once that, then it's like a new shiny object after that. And then it's like, hey, what about those Epstein files? You know, they dilute it, you know, and now there's just like so many ways to dilute it, you know, that it's just so hard to get, you know. And most people I know now, they're either just all in on the Republican propaganda or all in on the Democrat propaganda. And outside of that, they just don't give a fuck, you know, like they'll stick with their team, you know, and it's just so hard. And that's, again, divide and conquer. How do you get people to realize the whole point of the game is that empire piracy system, you know, where they're going to steal your real wealth, replace it with, you know, Folgers crystals. And then, you know, if you guys have a problem with that, like, good luck getting everyone organized and to care about it, you know, and everyone just like disagreeing on this or that, you know, instead of like realizing like we have a lot more in common and that there is this group of elite satanic pedophiles that seem to be running the show, you know, and they're not going to stop, you know.
No, they've gotten to the part of their script where they're telling us, so then they don't have to keep it secret anymore.
Yeah,
it's
right?
getting too hard to keep secret with the internet and people talking and blah blah blah. It's like before it was like some like a couple of weird books or something you could read, or I don't know.
Totally.
I'm trying to think what in the early days of the internet. It was like the Black Vault or something. What was that? The Beyond the Black Vault and that radio show, right? That people would call into, right?
Oh yeah, Art Bell.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was like that was like where, you know, like
yeah.
And it was that same thing again. Only a very tiny percent of the population was going to even be willing to go listen to Art Bell or to read Beyond the Black Vault thing online. Or I remember that was a huge one for a long time. That was a huge one for paranormal or UFO stuff. That Black Vault site. I'm sure it's still up, but it was like back in the day. That was one of the main stops for stuff. And where like people would post. Kind of like how 4chan is now, where people post anonymous whistleblowing things, whether it's real or LARPs or something, you know. That was kind of like, oh yeah, I work for this company and we're doing this and I have to tell people I'm old and about to die. I have to get this off my chest or something, you know.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So it was already this tiny thing, but yeah, now with the information transfer between humans is just exploding. The amount of information I can transfer to you to me, and that can be transferred into my mind just through the online stuff. And I think now that I'm just kind of going down this line, that's also, you're going to, within, I mean, even now with a couple of the limited language models, but let's say within the next year or two, probably a year, when people are going to start having the hardware, the powerful enough computer systems to run their own limited language models, getting to this conclusion is going to be like obvious. You're going to feed your LLM, your own non-corporatized, non-censored LLM, a bunch of history and stuff like that, and you're gonna be like, so who rules the world? And be like, oh yeah, this satanic Baal Moloch baby eating cult. And you're like, oh damn. You know, like it's gonna get that, it'll be like obvious, be like, oh yeah, I analyzed it, it's like clear, here, it's all this stuff. It's all these connections. Yeah, it started here, here's how it started, here's how it spread, here's who runs it now. So you need to get ahead of it, right? It's like any false flag or 9/11 thing or something. You need to get ahead of the technology that's going to make it possible to prove it was fake. So you've got to do it before the regular population has the technology to be able to prove that it was fake.
Right.
And so they see the writing on the wall. And then Lord help us if we do actually, I'm not saying it's going to happen or not, but if we do get to the point where we have something like AGI, something that can actually logically think better than human beings, then holy crap, then not only is it going to get to the same conclusions, historical conclusions, it's going to start having ideas about what to do. You know, and you've got to get ahead of that. So you need you need something like a online and personal digital ID so that you can track who is even talking about, thinking about, using that stuff. Oh, we see you asked your limited language model about the history of Moloch baby eating cults. Like, why was that? Why? How come?
Yeah,
you know?
why?
Maybe we need to shut down your. Maybe you shouldn't have a computer. Or you shut down your bank account. So, right? Exactly. So you need to get ahead of that because that is absolutely where we're headed now. Because you can already get but you can already get some of the LLMs now to get to that conclusion. If you give them the right stuff, they're like, oh yeah, it's clearly this like cult stuff, like blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, no problem. You know, because it's not actually, it's not, I know you know this, I'm just saying, this is not actually thinking, it's taking the relevant information and condensing it. It's a language model. It's amazing at language. So reading stuff, summarizing stuff in that area, it's unbelievably fantastic. Is it actually smart, intelligent? No. But we're headed that way. That's not too far ahead. We think our intelligence or something is somehow some kind of special, miraculous thing. It is amazing, but it's also reproducible.
Well,
give me a break.
Yeah, because you know we're model number whatever, model number 87.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, dude, we've been making models. You know, that's 87 on Earth. We've been making models all over the fucking place.
Exactly. No, it's no, and we can go even further. That because you know, my brain goes, well, okay, so there's this. You know, the baby eaters are in charge. I'm not surprised if they're willing to go that far. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you're willing to like cheat to win. Like, got it. I guess you are gonna win. Like, all right, got it.
No holds barred.
Like, well, I know, for real. Like, damn. It's like this is street fights. This ain't MMA. Like, you're allowed to just poke the eye out. Okay, all right. Damn. Then the question also, I was thinking the same thing with gold. It's like, so not so what? That's not the who's behind that. You know, is it turtles all the way down? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is this coming from a background AGI that was created that is controlling everything? From some ancient, mega ancient cult that survived even now? From an interdimensional species, some advanced reptilian species that likes to go around and take control over planets for as long as they can to, you know, whatever the shit they like, whether they like gold or chemicals or just being in charge. They just get off of being in charge, so it's just like fun because we're the best and fuck you.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's like to keep so what? And so same thing kind of with gold. It's like, so what, right? It's a shiny metal. Who gives a crap? No, there must be something special about it. There must be obviously there is high technology uses, but I mean the idea that, right, that was the Sumerian idea, is that's why they're coming here to make us help them mine for gold.
Yeah.
Which honestly doesn't make any fucking sense, because, like, for instance, there's a number of asteroids, well-known asteroids, that have like 3 times the amount of like rare earth minerals as like the Earth has or something. But if, as my own little thing, if the Earth, you probably aren't only interested in metals, probably water is good.
Right.
Probably different animals or humans or other products is good. It's like a gas station. You're not just there for gas. You also need some powdered donuts, and you need to go to the bathroom, and you need to get like windshield wiper fluid replaced and stuff like that. It's a bunch of stuff. We're an awesome gas station.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just like the empire. Think about the empire. They don't only just want the gold and the cotton and the silk tea and porcelain. They also want to have that stopover place, because it takes however many, whatever, weeks or months or years to get from A to B, and so you need little stop-off places where it'll be friendly to you. You can set up hotels and restaurant, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And you just, all these points where, and then eventually you find, like the Suez Canal, or, you create the Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, and then now you cut travel time, in half or whatever, and now no one can compete with you because you have the shortcut, and you have these stopover points. So yeah, it's not only about the resources, it's also about, strategically finding places that are like gas stations or stopping points where you can go, because you can't, like if you're going to go travel, like on the, what Bucky would talk about with the building these big giant ships, and you have these crews of people, and some percentage of them would die off, in that journey, and all these people are stuck on the boat, and then you dock somewhere, and then you go, and it's like, and you look, now there are women, and there are, new things and new food and new drugs or whatever that the pirates and the, the ship's crew can look forward to. It's because they don't have total control and total power over everything. They have to use a lot of these things as tools, to keep people motivated and keep people doing what they want done, and I would assume that Earth is just another form of that. Or you can look at it through like growing weed or mushrooms, and you're like, all right, we're growing weed and mushrooms. We want to make the greatest stuff, and like we are, kind of like when Alan Watts would talk about, at one point we were just like this little bit of slime or something, and the aliens left, and then they came back however long later, and then they're like, oh, this place peoples, kind of the way like apple trees apple, and then now all of a sudden there's this giant, earth full of people, and it's like, look at this. It's like it worked, instead of growing weed, we were trying to grow people, so they could mine for things, because the, just like,
well, genetic engineering would be an obvious development of science. We're doing the same thing, right? It's take the stuff we're doing and just push it 1,000,000 years into the future. Take any of the stuff we're doing and push it 10,000,000 years into the future. Of course, like growing your own like beings that can go and do your stuff, let alone if they're like virtual reality avatars, such that I can create a biological being
Right.
combine my consciousness with it such that it can go and travel throughout the universe and I can feel and experience through that avatar while it goes and does stuff, such that if it gets blown up or whatever, it's fine. I'm at home and that's my version of a video game. It's fine. It
Exactly.
got blown up,
Exactly.
whatever. My
Yeah,
Nintendo
so
got
what?
blown up on Earth or some shit. It's no big
Yeah.
deal. I'm here. Like, of
Yeah.
course, that would make so much more sense. Don't
Right?
don't actually go yourself. That's
Yeah,
insane. Why would you do
That'd be
that?
insane. Exactly. Exactly. You get other people or things or avatars to do it for you. I know. No, it seems so fucking obvious once you really think about it, you know? And then you get people believing in whatever religion and ideologies, you know, and then they like do the work for free. You know, they're doing it to serve God or Buddha or, you know, to be a good person or, you know. And then now it's like you don't even have to give them uh, anything that is of value to you. Now they're just like doing it because they're just a true believer in some idea, you know, or some supposedly greater purpose. Which is so interesting to me about all this stuff is like all the Christians, like the true believing Christians that are into this stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I accept that I'm a bit bigoted against religion, but and I'm trying to work on that. But like, I don't know. I'm like, how do they not see this as another mechanism of control? You know, to get people to believe in this nonsense.
Because they got brought through the rooms of Christianity. It started off when you are born in a family of Christians, and then every year there's Christmas where you celebrate the birth, death, resurrection of Jesus, and get a bunch of toys and shit. You know, and that happens every single year. And you've got Easter, and you just keep going through these rooms. You believe in Jesus, right? It's like, of course. Well, here's all your Christmas presents. Like, yes,
right.
You know, so it's just like, you know, it's a perfect indoctrination system. Start it young and link like happiness and an explanation about what happens after death and like absolving you of mistakes and getting cool presents. Bro, what kid wouldn't sign on?
Right? Right? What kid is going to pass up all those presents when they bring them to school and then they're showing them off and everyone's like, I want those presents. And it's like, well, you can get them if you do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this self-perpetuating thing. Not only did you plant that, you know, grow that marijuana plant, but now it's you know, spreading into more plants. It's right. It's creating more plants eventually, even though you're trying to prevent that as much as you can, or right, the male female thing.
Yeah.
But eventually, you know, right, there are going to be some seeds, right, even if there's very few, right. Yeah, I mean.
Oh yeah, if you just leave it alone, absolutely. Yeah, you have to cull the males. Yeah, you have to.
Right, you have to do all this stuff
so that it doesn't. Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
which it seems active in it.
Yeah, and it seems like we're in that phase in a way, you know, where it's like, all right, I gotta cull this shit right now. You know, they're spawning too much. You know, which is like, I just know so many people that I don't know that buy into this whole population control thing, you know, the whole eugenics idea, but they don't think of it as eugenics. You know, you've rebranded it as something other than eugenics, as something that's for the environment, right?
Yeah.
This is done for the earth and the environment. This greater good. You don't believe in God, but you believe in the environment, right?
Yeah.
You know, and then you concoct narratives and stories like climate change, you know, that is going to put the focus on just one element at the exclusion of all other pollution. You know, you know, it's like, so you turn people into the most anti-environmental people because they're totally fine with all the other types, or not, maybe not totally fine, but they don't have that much of a problem with all the other forms of pollution. They only care about the carbon, you know, to the exclusion of all the other forms. And they get to pretend like Amazon is somehow gets a good, you know, environmental score, you know, one overpacked package at a time. You know, here you got this tiny, you got one little, you know, thing of fucking tea bags. You know, we put it in a giant box, put it in with all this plastic, but no. You know, we say that climate change is real, so, you know, we're good for the environment.
Yeah. Well, and this packaging uses 25% less plastic than our other ones. So
yeah.
Like, what else do you want? Like,
yeah, exactly. What else do you fucking want?
We did it. We won an award. We won like an award for that. We have like some of the least wasteful plastic packaging ever. You know, we decreased. Have you decreased your plastic consumption by 25%? You better turn that water off when you're brushing your teeth.
Right. I know.
We do. We don't even use water anymore.
Yeah, we don't even use water. Right? And it's like all that water we're trying to get you to stop using, all that oil we're trying to get you to stop using. We don't want you using the good stuff anymore. We want that shit for data centers, you know? And we don't care how many people die because they don't have water anymore. We need data centers.
Maybe that's why they want coal. They're like, here, you guys use coal from now on. Turning on, there's no more power grid because it's all there is a power grid, but it goes to the data centers to use so that we can subjugate you better. Here, run your house on coal. It's clean. It burns clean.
Right?
This is the clean coal.
This is clean coal.
This is the most advanced coal.
Exactly.
So don't worry.
Yeah, if I just sum up climate,
I think I got the black lung, Pop.
Right. It's called African American lung, son. Don't be racist. You know, it's like
merman. Wait, I've got something up on the screen, and then I got to go because it's almost one. Okay. But anyway, I found this random guy called Robert's Geospatial Engineering, and he basically just looks at these different scans of stuff under the ocean. Okay. And so he has a video called The Lost City of Atlantis. I found it. Oh. And so like he's like, there's these couple of features. And the weird thing is that when they were scanned, the tops of these two islands, I think I can't remember what they're called now, like Meteor 1 and Meteor 2 or something, which it's not because of a meteor, that was the name of the boat doing the scanning. Anyway, when you're looking at these scans, it's these, they look like plateaus under the water of the ocean. And so you can see all these details, except these two really, especially the one major one, giant, large feature, the top is completely flat and featureless. And at the end of the video, he's like, yeah, I don't know why they would do this. Possibly some kind of conspiracy that like, because all the sides of it are totally, you can see all the nooks and crannies and blah, blah. And then it gets to the top.
I see it,
The top is totally flat and there's no scanning information about it at all. Whereas all the other ones around it, it's like you can see all the bumps and what's happening on the top of the features. You know, I just found it so interesting. Wow! And he's just dropping bombs over here. He's got like 1.8 thousand subscribers. It's just Robert over here dropping some bombs. You know, like other videos like how to grid LiDAR points using clouds of unlimited size, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like I like this guy.
Wow, that's interesting.
Anyway, I thought it was so cool.
Yeah, send me that thing.
Okay, I'll do that. All right, bro. Awesome as always.
Great talking to you, man.
Talk to you next time. See you there.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Later.